Alrighty, today we are going to be solving using mobile balances. At the end of this lesson, you'll be able to solve an equation using a mobile balance. Okay, first of all, this is going to be a little bit different than the way that you have traditionally solved equations. I do have a method behind my madness, so I'm just going to ask that you be patient with the process. And even if you're traditionally used to solving an equation a different way, that you go ahead and solve the equations using the mobile balances, because when we get to some harder material, you're going to be able to use this process for a little bit more abstract problems. So first of all, I thought you might want to know what a mobile balance is. So I just put a couple pictures on the screen, as you can see. Those are mobiles like you would put in a baby's crib. And the biggest thing about mobiles is that they have to balance. So you'll notice these ones are not tippy or anything. It's because the weight is equally distributed. So you'll notice like on these mobile balances, there are things all around. We're going to deal with mobile balances that just have things on two sides. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm just going to start writing down some equations that we're going to be solving, and then I'm actually going to be showing you how we'll use mobile balances to solve them, and we'll be using equations to solve it as well. So I want you to do both things. So please make sure when you're taking notes, every single thing that I write down, you are going to write down as well. So we're going to start with problem 1, and we'll have 2x plus 7 equals 5 plus 4x plus 10. Okay, so we're going to start by making a mobile balance. So mobile balance, and so basically we're going to have two sides. The equal sign splits our mobile balance into two separate sections, and we just need to make sure that everything on each side is going to balance. And the first thing that we're going to do is just draw what we see. So on the left side it says 2x and 7, so I'm going to draw 2x's. And then I'm going to draw the number 7, and I usually like to put the numbers in circles. On the right side, it says 5 plus 4x plus 10. So since it's just a 5, I'm going to draw 5 with a circle around it. Then it says 4x's, so I need to draw 4x's. And then I see a 10. So again, we're going to put the 10 in a circle around it. Okay, so that's how we start it. Now what we're going to be doing is doing stuff to the picture, and every time we do stuff to the picture, we're also going to write a new equation. So we're going to get into the habit of doing both. So the first thing that I see is that if I have a 5 and 10 on the same side, I can just put those together and make it 15. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, so now if I wrote my equation down here, I now still have 2x's and I have 7, and then equals, because the equals separates the two different sides. And then on the right side, I see 4x's, and now I also have the 15. So we'll put plus 15. Okay, so now from here, I want to see what could I do. I want to make it still balanced. Is there something I could cancel off on each side and have it still balanced? I notice I have an x on this side and an x on this side, and if I get rid of the same thing on both sides, it's still going to weigh the same. It's still going to balance. And then same thing, I have another x and another x. So now that I've done that, now again, I'm going to look at what I have left. On the left side, I see a 7, and then on the right side, I see 2 x's, and I see the 15, so we'll put plus 15. All right, from here, my goal is to just have these x's. We want to find the value of what would the x have to be. So the next thing that I'm going to be thinking about is I just want these x's over here. So I don't want the 15 over here. So to decide what I'm going to do, I really did not want this problem to work out this way. I'm going to put a 17 just because I wasn't ready for that difficulty of a problem. So now over on this side, I know that I don't want this 15 over here. So if I don't want 15 over then on this side, I'm going to just cross the 15 off on this side. But that means pretty much I got rid of the 15, which means to get rid of the 15 on the other side, I also need to subtract it from this side. So then 17 minus 15 would give me 2. So now again, if I look at what I have on the left side, I have 2. And then if I look at what I have left on the right side, I just have 2 x's. And now I'm just going to use my common sense a little bit. If I have 2 x's over here, what would each x have to be so that it balances with the number 2 on the right side? Well, each x would have to be 1, so x would equal 1. And we could easily figure that out because I have 2 and I have to divide it by the 2 x's. So that's how I would solve using a mobile balance. All right, so now let's go ahead and try another one. I'm going to have 2 plus 3x plus 7 equals x plus 1. And again, we're going to start it off the same way. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my mobile balance. On the left side, I see a 2. So I'm going to put a 2 in a circle. I have 3 x's, so I have to draw 3 x's. and then I have a 7. So I'm going to put the 7 in a circle as well. So that's the whole left side. Now the right side, I have an x and I have 1. Okay, so same thing that I did on the other problem. I first of all noticed that if 2 and the 7 are on the same side, I can just put those together and make it 9. And then every time I do something to my picture, I want to write a new equation. So now if I look at what I have 9. I still have those 3 x's, so I'm going to put plus 3x, and then an equal sign because I'm moving over to the other side of the balance. And the other side of the balance, I still have an x, and I still have the 1. Okay, now I'm going to look at, is there something I could cross off on each side? Well, I noticed both sides have an x, so I can cross off the x from both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then again, I'm going to look at what I have left. I still have the 9 left, and I still have 2 x's. And then on the right side, I just have a 1. Okay, I could have written this as I see 2 x's and then 9. So I could have written that as 2x plus 9. It doesn't really matter. Okay, now I'm going to again be looking at, I want the x's, I want to find the value of the x's. So I really want to just have the x's on this side. So I don't want the 9. And again, I guess I'll keep it like this. This is fine. Actually, I don't want to keep it like this. I'm going to put 13 just because I wasn't ready for negatives yet. So we're just going to make that 13. Sorry about that. Okay, so now from here, I don't want these 9. So in order to not have this 9, I just need to subtract it to get rid of it. So which means if I subtract it on this side, if I want it to balance, I have to subtract it from the other side. So 13 minus 9 would give us 4. Okay, then from here, again, I'm going to write what I see. On the left side, I simply see 2 x's. And then on the right side, I see 4. And then from here, we would know if I have 4 and I need to divide it by 2 x's, each x would have to be 2. And now I have solved it. So onward to another one again. So number 3 says 3x plus 8 equals 29. I don't think I'm going to be doing any changing this time, but we'll see. All right, so I'm going to draw my balance. On the left side, I see 3 x's, and then I see the number 8. So again, we'll put the number 8 in a circle. On the right side, I only see 29, so I'm going to put 29 in a circle. Okay, this time if I look, I don't have any numbers on either side that I can just go ahead and put together because they're on the same side, so nothing I can do there. I also see that I don't have any x's to cross off from each side, so really nothing I can do there. So I'm already at the step where I just want the x's over here, so I don't want this 8, but if I don't want the 8, if I just cross it off, that basically means I'm getting rid of it, so I'm subtracting it. So I also need to subtract it from the right side. So 29 minus 8 would be 21. Okay, so now I can write my new equation. So on the left side, I see 3 x's. On the right side, I see 21. And then from here again, just thinking about it, if I have 21 and I have to divide it between 3 x's, each x would have to be 7. And I have it solved. So not every problem is a super long problem. Okay, 4, let's say I have 2x plus 7 plus 3x equals 22. All right, so I'm going to draw what I have. Here it says 2 x's, so I'm going to draw 2 x's. And then I see a 7. And then I see 3 x's. Okay, so on the right side, I just see 22. Okay, I'm not really going to do anything right now. There's nothing to cross off. There's nothing to add together, but I am going to write a new equation because I am going to look at how many x's do I see. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 x's, even though they're not together. And then I see the 7. And then on the right side, there's the 22. Okay, so at this point in time, again, we want the x's just to be by themselves. So I don't want the 7, so I'm just going to get rid of the 7, but to get rid of it, I'm taking it away off of my balance. So I'm subtracting it. So if I subtract it from the left side, I have to subtract it from the right side. So 22 minus 7 will be 15. So again, now I'm going to write what I see. I see 5 x's, and then on the right side, I see 15. And again, I'm at that step where I just think about it. If I have 15 and I have to divide it between 5 x's, each x must equal 3. Okay, we are at the point in the video where I am going to have you try a problem on your own. So I want you to go ahead and write down this problem. So we're going to have 18 plus 3x equals, let's do 4 plus 5x. All right, so what I would like you to do is write down the problem. You're going to pause me at this point in time. You're going to try the video, try the problem, excuse me, and then you'll come back and you can check to make sure that you did it correctly. Alrighty, I'm assuming that you checked it and you know that if you got it right or wrong at this point in time, but let's just walk through it. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my mobile balance. So I have 18, I'm going to put a circle around it, and I have 3 x's. So 1, 2, 3 x's. And then on the right side, I have 4, and then I have 5 x's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I notice there's really nothing that I can combine, but I can cross off some x's. 3 x's on this side and 3 x's on this side. And if I do that, if I look at what I have on the left side, I have 18. And if I look at what I have on the right side, I have 4 and I have 2 x's. I could have also written that as 2x plus 4. It doesn't really matter. Okay, and then from here, just our same step that we've been doing. If I just want x's, I don't want that 4. So to get rid of it, I have to subtract it from the other side. So 18 minus 4 would be 14. So now again, if I look at what I have 14. And I guess I didn't have to circle that one. And then on the right side, I have 2 x's. And then from here, just thinking about it, I have 14. I need to divide it between 2 different x's. So if I do that, I get 7. So hopefully you successfully got 7 as your answer. So now we're going to work on I've been ignoring the negatives, but we really have to deal with them. So these next problems are going to address if I have negatives in the problem. So number 6, we're going to have 3x minus 7 equals 20. So we are now going to decide what we're going to do with this. I'm going to draw my balance again. So I'm going to have 3 x's. And then this one, notice it says minus 7. So instead of just putting a 7 in a circle, I'm going to put the minus 7 in the circle. And then on the right side, there's just a 20. So I'm going to put 20 in the circle. All right, then from here, nothing I can combine or anything like that. So I'm at the point where I just want the x's by themselves. But here I have a negative 7. So instead of, if I want to get rid of a negative 7, to get that to balance, I'm actually going to have to add 7 over to the other side. I have to do the opposite of what I was doing. So that's how I'm going to get it to balance. So 20 plus 7 would be 27. So now I look at what I have. I have 3 x's on the left, and on the right I have 27. And then this is the point where we just start thinking about it. If I have 27 and I need to divide it between 3 x's, each x would have to be 9. All right, let's just keep dealing with the problem that have negatives in them. So let's see, 9 plus 4x equals 2x plus 15. All right, so we're going to go ahead and draw our balance. I have the number 9, and then I have 4 x's. And then on the right side, I have 2 x's, and then I have the number 15, right? This time, I can cross off x's from both sides. So I am going to go ahead. This is not working the way that I wanted it to. I want it to be, let's do, I'm going to change it, guys. Sorry. I wanted 15 on the side. I'm trying to make a point here. Thought I was, and then I just wasn't. Okay, so 15 and 9. Okay. Thank you for that. All right, so I can cross 2 x's off on both sides. And now let's look at what I have left. I have the 15, and I have 2 x's, and then on the right side, I have 9. Okay, so now I want the x's by themselves. So we know that we need to get rid of the 15, so I'll just subtract it from both sides. But notice this time on this right side, if I go to subtract it, I can either think of it in 2 ways. I can think of 9 minus 15 and just plug it in my calculator, or I can think if I have a positive 9 and a negative 15, which means they're negative different signs, which means I need to subtract them and get negative 6. So that answer is going to be negative 6. So now on the left side, I have 2x. On the right side, I have negative 6. So again, I know that I need to divide. Negative 6 needs to be divided into 2 x's. So negative 6 divided by 2 would be negative 3. So that would be my answer. So the process isn't different. It's just that now we're dealing with signed numbers. All right, let's do a couple more that have negatives in them. Let's say I have negative 2x minus 5 equals negative 19. All righty, so this one has lots of negatives in it. All right, so this one's a little different because there's a negative in front of the x. So this time, instead of putting 2 x's, I'm going to put 2 negative x's. So that will add up to negative 2x. And then I have the negative 5 or the minus 5. You'll notice that I'll use the word negative and minus interchangeably. And then on the right side, I have a negative 19. Okay, so now from here, nothing to cancel out, nothing to combine, but I do know I do not want this negative 5 over here. And if I don't want the negative 5, to get rid of it, I'm going to have to add 5 to the other side. So notice I'm always doing the opposite. If over here I had a positive 15, I do minus 15. If it was a minus 5, I do a plus 5. Okay, so on the left side, I now have negative 2 x's. On the right side, these are different signs. So I know that I need to subtract them, and if I do that, I'm going to get a negative 14. If you used a calculator, you could simply type in negative 19 plus 5, and it would also give you negative 14. And now we're to the thinking part. I know I need to take negative 14 and divide it into negative 2x's. So negative 14 divided by 2 would be 7. So I'll get x equals 7. All right, 2 more, and then this video will be done. All right, number 9. I have 5x plus 7 equals negative 3x plus 31. And here we go. So, yeah, we'll stick with this. Okay. So we're going to have 5 x's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I have my 7. And then on the right side, I have negative 3 x's and 31. Okay, so now from here, we cannot cancel out actually because they're not the same. An x and a negative x don't mean the same thing. So I actually want these x's over here with the other x's, and we learned on the other problems that if I don't want negatives, I just add them to the other side. So I'm going to add 3 x's over there, and now I can be done. Okay, so now I can look at, I'm going to go ahead and write my new equation, what I have. I now have, if I look at all my x's, I have 8 x's and 7, and it's going to equal 31. Okay, so remember I want all my x's together, but I don't want the 7. So if I don't want the 7, I'm just going to subtract it because it's a positive right now. So then 31 minus 7 is 24. So now I have 8 x's on the left side. I have 24 on the right side. And my last step, just like always, is to take 24 divided by 8 x's, and that will give me 3. Okay, we have one more problem in this video. This is going to be your problem. So I'll have negative 4x minus 2 equals 10. And I'm going to let you solve this one. I would like you to solve it using the balances, even if you know another way. And then come on back and see how you did. Alrighty, I'm assuming that you're back. And here we go. Let's go ahead and solve it. So on this left side, I'm going to have negative 4x's. And then I have my minus 2 or negative 2, however you want to call it. And then on the right side, I have 10. Okay, nothing to cancel out at all. But I do know that I don't want this negative 2 over here. So to not have the minus 2, I need to do plus 2. And 10 plus 2 is simply 12. So on the left side, I have negative 4x's. And on the right side, I have 12. And then from here, we simply just end it with 12 divided by negative 4x's will give me negative 3. So hopefully you got that, and hopefully now you are able to solve an equation using a mobile balance.